ahead. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, you guys, and because we do not have a quorum, we'll not, so we will just talk about things. I don't know what decisions we had to make anyway, so we'll go from there. We can table all decisions later. So, good evening. It is August 10th, 2021. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Aiding in Place Task Force meeting of Royal Oak to order. Due to the nature of the meeting, all voting and attendance will be done through roll call. I'm going to go through who appears on our screen, and then I'll go through who's here in the room with us. Please state aye and where you are broadcasting from. We'll start with Paul.
My name is Paul Webb, broadcasting from Royal Oak.
Okay, Joan.
Joan Johnson, Royal Oak.
Okay, Charlene Douglas, Royal Oak. Erin, Susan, and Rachel. And I think you guys just heard that Rachel is one of the fellows for the city. So welcome, everyone. So,
right. I would just say that for the record, there is no quorum present, so we can't make decisions.
Yeah. So that's at the beginning, but that's okay. No. I'm gonna triple that. Not make any decisions. There we go. Looks like we have a question already. Oh my God. Who is typing questions? Okay. So let's talk about so the first thing to do is statements. Let's go and talk about the working group timeline that I sent out. I think everyone received a copy of that. I know I got some feedback from a couple of people. Just so you are aware, we did present this to Karen from the AARP, and she was on board with the timeline that we outlined on last year. The one that I had is that perhaps we need a whole group meeting, all hands working groups meeting at the beginning to summarize data that is general and to tell them where our data came from and to outline what the procedures are and how the work groups will be governed, rather than having to do that 6 times. So we wouldn't do that at the kickoff. Well, is that, you know, if you read the schedule, there's a kickoff for all on 10/6/21. And then you break up the next week and then ignore me. Okay, I mean, I'm comfortable if we need to have 2. No, I looked at different things. Okay. I didn't see no problem with this and didn't pay attention to that. I just heard in the kickoff meeting, we would give an overview. We would talk about the data. We would talk about the expectations, the timeline. I was supposed to do this for this meeting, but I didn't.
Joan or Paul or Carol or Rachel? Oh, we're Carol. Rachel, can you guys hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but the audio is going in and out, breaking up quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
It seems better now. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else.
Okay, it looks like our screen just froze. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn our video for a little bit and see if that helps resolve at least audio issues for the moment. So hang in there and let me know if you guys can't hear us.
Okay. So we may need to talk about the kickoff meeting, but I think those are some great things. But that was my thoughts of what we would do on the 6th before we broke out into the other ones. That's why there's no deliverables until after the first meeting.
Got
it. Does that help clarify?
Yes.
I did not make it clear in this
I was just
document,
looking at the
sorry.
wrong piece of paper.
Okay. So basically, if we look at page 3, which I think is where the timeline is, starting on October 6th, we would have our kickoff meeting, and then basically about once a month after that, we'll have, you can see the schedule, but different groups meet once a month essentially. Until about February of 2022. The thought was, and what we talked about with Karen is that we have outlined the deliverables for those groups. Now, if those groups needed to meet in between them, that would be up to those working groups. But these would be the official meetings that we would expect deliverables from. So I don't think we want to overschedule things. So the expectation was that you may have to work in between there. It could be through email, Google Docs, whatever you're doing, but that's kind of the thought we had.
Let's just pause and see how the audio is.
How's the audio? Talking as loud as I can.
Much better.
Okay, good. So I outlined some deliverables for each of those, and I think that's probably what's on page 4 of your document. So in our discussions, it seems like Boston was kind of we like the format of like, we envision, we are, we heard, we will, or something. So I kind of used that same format for the different deliverables. So the first meeting in October, you would come up with your vision statements. The next meeting, you would start to put together your external group presentations and put together a list of those. After that meeting, you would come up with the we heard statements. Then you would start to draft your action items. The we are, or combine what we are doing. Then start to work in meeting number 5 on the we will statements. And then in the last one, we would finalize them and prioritize them.
So are you assuming that the work groups will determine who their external sources, information sources will be? Or should we be driving that?
Well, since you're the leader of those groups, I'm guessing you would help them drive that. So I think you would say, like, we could present the list, and we could say, of these groups, who do we want to hear from? I mean, I think we can do it any way we want. They might also mean that their subject matter experts have ideas of who they want to hear from as well. So I didn't want to be that this is the only people that we can hear from. So I thought it would be a combination of like, these are some of the things that we were thinking about. And I guess if it's like the Office on Aging, we can't invite them to 6 meetings, so we have to have a special meeting where they present all of it. I don't know, we'll figure that out.
Actually, I thought about them for the kickoff meeting.
Okay. The aging,
The area agency on aging.
okay. So I guess I would expect the workers to come up with a list.
Yes.
But I guess maybe I'm making the wrong assumption.
No, you're right. I mean, we know, for example, we staff people and know what city employees, department heads need to participate. But yeah, you're right. Subject matter experts, maybe presenters themselves.
Right.
Yeah. Or have ideas about who they should hear from.
Yeah. So I think it would be a combination of everybody, like we have this person from the city that will come, but there are also these 3 or 4 people that we also may want to have attend.
Right.
But I'm open. That doesn't. Paul, Joan, what are your thoughts on how we get to the list of experts to hear from?
I am really not able to comment because the audio is so broken up. I get about every 10th word. I don't know how to respond.
Okay.
Why do we
couple minutes. We're gonna try to call in and see if that will resolve at least the audio issue on our end. So give us just a minute.
Can you guys hear us? Is that
Yes.
any better?
So far.
Okay, hopefully this will work. So now just remember, your camera's here, your microphone's there. Okay, we're there. So you guys can hear us a lot better now?
Yes.
Yes, so far.
Okay, start over. Starting over from the top. Did everyone get a chance to look at the timeline that was sent out? And I know, Joan, that you had commented on it. Any follow-up thoughts? We'll start there.
No, at this point, the timeline seems to be reasonable. There are only like 6 sessions per work group, which I think is plenty. And then if we need in between times, we'd probably have to do it by email. I don't know how we could, I suppose we could meet in between, but the opposite, what's set up is collection of groups. One meet one week and then that other collection meets the next week, which doesn't leave us a lot of available slots to reconvene with the various groups. So we're going to have to be pretty productive.
Agreed. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but we did present this to Karen as a draft from the AARP, and she was on board with the dates that were outlined. So I think we have a little leeway in there as well, but they're expecting a draft around October-ish. How's that?
Next October.
October 2022, Joan. Don't, we got a year and a half almost.
Right, I'm not quibbling about that. It's, you know, we just, the way the meetings are set up, there's not really space in a month for a second meeting for a specific collection of groups. We'll have to do something maybe about that, I don't know. Not being big on meetings, I would surely like to get the major things done at the meeting, and if everybody does their homework, we should be able to do that.
Agreed. And I think we did talk to Karen about it. She felt that the 6 was pretty reasonable and that groups could, if necessarily, they may have to work things out in between, like you mentioned, Joan.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of outlined the deliverables for each meeting of what kind of might be to keep us moving along. And that was on page 4.
And
Paul, do you have any thoughts? Oh, sorry, Joan. Go ahead.
you know, having the deliverables in front of the groups gives everybody a shot at getting together what needs to be done. We're always looking on a forward basis. We're not making it up as we fly. And I think that that's accurate. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, and I think if we are finding ourselves, as we'll be continuing to meet as well, you know, really behind or something like that, I mean, I think there's a couple other people that will be working on drafting it, so it won't be like we aren't working in parallel. So if we had to go into March, I think we have some, you know, if we needed another meeting in March, we could potentially add one if we needed to. So I just think I'll start here. At least it gives us a timeline to follow, and then we can adjust as we feel necessary. Paul, what were your thoughts?
I think the working group meeting timeline looks good. I think it, you know, it gives you a good outline, and if we need to adjust it specific to one domain or the other, there should be the ability to do that.
Okay. So what we were talking about before we pivoted to the phone was the external group presentation. Shar had asked, like, who would be driving that or responsible for putting those together? And I said I thought it would be a combination of you guys as the leaders with some ideas of who might be the right people to invite, along with the work groups themselves, because you'll have those subject matter experts in there. They may have people that we haven't thought of, for instance. And I just wondered if you guys had any other ideas. Is that something you think we should put together and present to them? Or is it something you think could be part of a meeting? And
I would be much more comfortable with this if I actually knew somebody that could work on my committee, but I don't know that many people. And I thought we had a working document with individuals that had expertise in certain areas. And if I'm, you know, if the group gets together and they say we need X, Y, and Z, well, the X, Y, and Z doesn't come in until the next month.
Well, no, but I think that's what would happen in meeting 2. That is, staff, Susan, Aaron, et cetera, would be able to tell each working group who among city employees will be a resource. So we'll start from that. We'll have city departments who can speak. And then, as Sarah said, you know, you'll have subject matter experts who may indeed be sources of information or may know them. And so at that meeting number 2, the work group would put together the list of everybody they need to hear from and what they want to hear about. And then staff, Susan Barkman, would, and Rachel would go out and line them up so that they would be back at meeting number 3. Right?
yes, that was my vision.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect us to like figure it out ahead of time. I thought you guys would get all the data. You'd have a meeting to come up with all the data, start to look over the summaries, dig a little deeper, talk about it, and then start to say, like, form who do we want to hear from about what that's how you're going to figure out what we're actually doing, right? So I think you could absolutely, Joan, I think the idea is to leverage the list that we've started along with working with the group that you've, the working group, to decide who will be in that meeting number 3 for your presentations.
Okay.
I don't think we're relying on you to come up with everybody, Joan, and all your friends.
Oh, good, because there aren't that many.
Okay, I don't have that many friends either, Joan, so I don't blame you. I wouldn't rely on that either for my external group data.
Oh, we'd be making
Okay.
it up. That wouldn't be good.
We certainly could do that, though. So does anybody have any other thoughts, comments? If not, I think we kind of need to, I think we have a good plan to work towards. I think it's got some flexibility built in.
So Sarah,
Yeah.
to your page 3,
Yeah.
could you add in our task force meeting dates
Sure.
as well?
Yeah.
So we're all looking at the same thing on one page?
Yeah.
And we take this and we commit it to our calendars and on our lives?
Absolutely. So maybe that's a good segue into the other topic, which was reviewing the dates themselves. So I wanted to check in with anybody and everybody. So I took my best look at my calendar, the city holidays, but are there other community events that I'm not aware of, that I'm not thinking about because I've been here for like 3 months now, that you guys are like, oh, that conflicts? The other issue that we're having with the dates is the venue. So in October, a lot of the bigger spaces in the City Hall building are taken. The rec center or the community center has been booked for programming, and the large conference room in October in the police station is being used for their Citizens Academy. So we're a little tapped out on space in October right now.
Churchill.
Church,
It's the school's offices, and it's a former middle school, and they have a big meeting room with flexible tables that you
Okay.
can move around.
That was one of my other questions, is do we want to look outside, host virtually, do something different?
Farmers market?
The farmer's market was another suggestion. It just doesn't have like technology as much to do presentation, so. Okay.
I may be jumping a hoop I don't need to jump. But I think at some point we need to keep in our back pocket meetings that are not going to be in person. I can't, I'm looking at COVID numbers. I'm not impressed. And we may not need it, but I think we need to be thinking about it.
I don't disagree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
And two, keeping in mind our population of who may be participating.
So it did occur to me that the kickoff might be virtual.
Yes, the kickoff might be a great thing to do virtually.
Just a film. Set up a camera and have presenters, and they could have PowerPoints if necessary, and do that virtually, and then work group members could view it at their leisure. But the downside of that is you miss that initial connection where people start to get to know each other.
You could do both though, right? You could say, here's the video, watch this at your leisure, and then say, we're gonna come together, and you're not your first work group, but I think we had talked about in the kickoff meeting, having a part of that be a time for them to kind of break up into their groups and get to know you kind of stuff out of the way. And so that might be still a possibility that would give us, a very functional window for a meeting. That could still work.
What are the Open Meetings Act implications of that?
It's gonna be a great question. And part of it gets into, do we just stagger them? Do we do it as a breakout? And I think that is also getting into, we might have to look at kind of where this falls, because it's more of a working group at that point than a formal decision-making.
Right.
So we might have to look into that piece of a little bit and go from there. It's a good question.
Yeah, the kickoff is not a decision-making thing, it's just content sharing. So
Yep.
as I process it, I don't know that there are implications.
Icebreakers,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
I have a question regarding the meeting now. I see Susan McKee is here as a participant. Are we able to make her a panelist, and does that give us quorum?
It does.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
We're slowly promoting her. Sorry.
Okay.
These mice are not very smooth on this table.
No, they are not.
Okay, so she's joining us, so I think we do need to call roll again to officially move us into quorum. If that's what we would
I've
like to
been
do.
here, just so you know, I don't quite know how I didn't get entered in. So I've been listening and trying to
Oh, okay, good.
someone's attention, but yeah.
Sorry about that. We've got you promoted in, so let's go ahead and jump back to roll call. Okay, roll call again. Paul.
Paul Webb, broadcasting from Royal Oak.
Joan Johnson.
Joan Johnson from Royal Oak.
Sue McKee.
Sue McKee from Royal Oak.
Eric Inninger in the room from City Hall.
Charlene Douglas, City Hall.
Awesome. We now have a quorum. So now we can move on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the June 7th meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion, comments on that motion? I'm off script. You're fine. Okay. All right. Silence means we'll go ahead and vote. Shar?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. Paul?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Sue McKee?
Yes.
All right, those are officially approved. Now, July 6th, we'll approve next month? Yes. Yep. So your July 6th minutes, we'll bring back to you guys next month as we work our way through some training with Erin for those. So there's nothing wrong with them. We just didn't get them to you in time. So we'll have them for you next month along with this month's minutes. Okay. Now we can approve the agenda. Anyone?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Joan seconds. Any discussion, comments?
Given that we're halfway through.
Given that we're halfway through it, Ishar so eloquently pointed out. All right, then we're going to vote on it. Shar?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Sarah? Yes. So the agenda is now officially passed. We did skip the value statements because we wanted Sue McKee to be here. So let's finish up the group timelines, if there's any more discussion around that, and then we will go back to the top of with the value statements. Anything else on the timelines? Sue McKee, we have been talking through that. You've been hearing it. Any thoughts, comments
My only thought when I look at, and it kind of reflects a little bit about what Joan is saying, is it does feel a bit tight or possibly ambitious. Like, sorry, I'm flipping between screens here, but for example, trying to listen to the presentations and draft statements all within one meeting, depending on how many presentations we might have or what that might look like. It does feel a bit ambitious, but I certainly think it's a great jumping off point for sure.
Okay. So would we feel comfortable adding another meeting? So we would go into March?
Perhaps add it to the schedule so people put it in their calendars to allow for slippage.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So we will add a meeting number 7 to this. I'll work with Susan to get some dates for March. Yep. I don't know if you heard Sue McKee before, but we did present this to AARP and they are comfortable with us getting them an action plan by October of next year.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we'll work in a meeting number 7. I will add our task force meetings to that schedule as well and send it back out. Is that anything else that we needed? And if you guys can just let me know about the dates too, as you're thinking about timing and things like that. I don't have kids, so I don't know what the school holidays are, teacher in-service days, all these things. So
If you're looking at them and think that doesn't look like a good day, please let me know so we can plan accordingly.
Sue, did you run this by Judy Davids? Okay, good. Because she's on the community council,
Yep.
so she knows their calendar. Excellent.
Think we're in good shape with it, but the only day I gave you, we initially had the 7th, right? For
Yeah,
kickoff, and I
we
told you I
did.
couldn't make that. Yeah, we moved it
Okay.
to the 6th. Couldn't remember if that was the updated one or the old one. Okay, so going back to our value statement. Do you have that link, Susan? I do not have. Okay. It was in the Google Drive, right? I think so. We're just trying to find the Google Drive document. Okay. So I have a link to the document. I do love that Paul, Joan, and Susan McKee are all frozen on our screen. Hold on, you guys. Apparently I need to do something magical here for me to share my own screen. Just so we're all on the same page, Susan has all the power. She has her computer, her other laptop, so she just can like magically make everything happen in this room. It's amazing. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
You do. Awesome. So those were the 3 people that those are our roles. Where are the actual values? We got our vision and our mission. I think these were our visions, weren't they?
Yes. Oh, that was our value. You had it, Susan. We believe the community of Royal Oak is enriched.
The green part?
Yes, and what follows.
Okay. We will operate by the following values: community-driven, integrity, strategy, respect and equity. Oh, it's right there. Oh, collaboration. That's right, I forgot. Any thoughts, comments, anything we want to add? You edit it because you didn't give me permission to edit.
Oh, oops.
I just sent it to you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I think that what's there was, if I'm not mistaken, was essentially copied from another community group. Correct? I think Charlene had shared those from, I can't remember which group, but from another.
It's the Royal Oak Civic Foundation.
Right, right. So I don't think we were necessarily saying that we were sold on these as written per se.
Okay.
I'm just commenting because I know there's others that follow there too. I think we had just kind of put down all the ideas. So like if Susan scrolls down, there's more to follow.
Okay. Oh, creativity.
So we talked about a bunch of different.
And our value statements is how we are going to, I don't remember. The vision is what we want to accomplish. The mission is how we're going to do it, and the value is the why, or the
how.
Is the how. So what's different between that and the mission?
The vision is,
Okay, sorry.
the vision is what we want to accomplish. The mission is what we're going to do,
Okay.
and the values are how we're going to do it.
Okay. Accomplish. The mission is. What was the mission again?
What we're going to do.
What we're gonna do. What we're going to do, and the values are how. Okay, got it. So, we have said that it was important for us to talk about the community. I remember that it was community driven. That was really important. I think we want to have integrity. We want to be strategic. We want to collaborate. So what else do we think is missing? I think then we added creativity was at the bottom of that. Respect and equity. What do you guys feel is missing from these words? And how we want to achieve, or how we want to proceed?
Well, I'm satisfied with them because I was part of the group that
Yes, I
defined
know
them
you
for the
were.
other body. So I'm
Yes.
I'm good.
Just another thought that I had when I was kind of looking at them earlier today was something about that we value an environment that supports well-being of all community members. So it's kind of a global statement, because that's really what overall, I guess that was one of the thoughts that I had today.
Is that a how, or is that part of the, is that the kind of the why we're doing this?
Well, and values to me are just a how. Values to me are sort of what what's the driving, their values. What are the things that we're rooted in that's driving this project? It's more than just how to me.
I think of values as your guiding principles.
Yes, that's a better way to articulate what I was trying to say, Joan.
Okay. So when we think about that, then we talk, so the well-being of all community members, that is a value. How would we summarize that? What are the?
Well, so how I started it was, we value an environment that supports a sense of well-being. So then we're looking at space, physical spaces, inclusiveness, integrity. It's all of those things that help to create a sense of well-being for everyone in the community, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just an added thought that I had.
Okay.
I think that might fit a little better with the top line that they had the green thing, the green highlight. Incorporate that concept of well-being into that. Because I believe we want that whole sentence. And then attached to that is what Sue just mentioned, that's down below. we value an environment that supports a sense of well-being. I think that, let's see if we can.
And I would say that we value an environment that supports everyone's well-being, not a sense of it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
their actual.
Yes.
Maybe it's, we believe that the community of Royal Oak is enriched and made stronger through the full participation of all residents, recognizing the city's history and contributions of its older residents, and supports the well-being of all. I don't know. I'm just,
Well, I think it's important to talk about the environment, right? And by that, I'm essentially saying like the community helps to support the well-being, right? So stronger through full participation.
isn't that what the community of Royal Oak at the beginning represents? And then we operate by the following values: community-driven strategy, respect and equity, collaboration, and creativity.
Let's see.
And sustainability be in there? Sustainability of the community of Royal Oak.
I think that has a meaning these days that has more to do with
Environment.
the environment.
Oh, okay.
I think I know where you're headed.
The environment.
Yeah. So the way it's written now, Sue, it does not incorporate the environment piece.
Sorry, it's small. I'm trying to read it.
Oh, that's okay.
So where are we thinking that's? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my phone and it's changing as she works.
Trippy.
Yeah, I think that I'm fine. I mean, I'm fine with that. I think it gets the gist of it.
Yeah, thank you. Change supports to supporting. Just to keep the
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
taste the
And
same.
then we take it off the last split. I think the only thing we need here is to define community driven. I mean, everything else has like a little bit. And I think what we were talking about community driven was not only that this task force is primarily being driven by the community, right? That's what you wanted to focus there, right? That's community first, including the volunteers. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was the idea of like co-production, right? Where this is being created and produced by, you know, the involvement of and through the input of community members, subject area experts, etc. I think one of the wordings we had before, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I think one of the statements that we'd come up with last time was we recognize and value the process of co-production to best meet the needs of the community. I don't know if that works or.
Does that fall more under collaboration?
Collaboration. Yeah, like what is different now between community driven and collaboration?
Right.
So
nobody minds, I'll throw this out there. I feel like collaboration is about process of how we make this document and how we work together on the implementation. I think community driven speaks more to what we're getting to. What are the outcomes? What are the things that people want in listening to our residents? That's where I see that community driven. It's the outcome for community driven. Collaboration is how we get there.
So then I would say that is community driven a value?
I think to me it is my personal.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good discussion. I just want to make sure we're defining it correctly. I do agree that I think community driven feels different than collaboration, because like when I think of, but I want to make sure that they're defined differently so that people understand the difference. I don't want us to, if we are having trouble with it. So it sounds like community driven is engaging like some kind of engagement with the community to drive outcomes or something. Is kind of what I heard you say, Susan.
Yeah, so I think the community engagement or the community driven piece, that comes from a lot from our data. It comes a lot from the working groups and them kind of identifying where we're going to go, or what that outcome is that we're kind of striving for. Because if you think about all the different solutions that are possible, great example, we talked about the transportation piece that I shared with you guys. People wanted basically a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, anytime Uber that's free and run by the city, right? Like that was kind of where a lot of that conversation was going in some of the data. But there's a million solutions, like, right? There's a lot of different solutions out there for overcoming that transportation issue. But if your community isn't asking for one of the other solutions, or there's a lot of things in the data, but right, like if they're not as keen on another one, you can do it, but it's not going to be successful because you don't have buy-in. And so that community-driven piece, I think, is really important for your outcomes.
So it's listening and engaging with the community to drive intentional outcomes. Intentional, impactful outcomes.
Well, and it's also even like it's been at each stage of this process, right? That's really, I think, what we're hoping to do, so that, the data came from, was community developed and gathered, and the action plan should be based from that data. And then even when we're implementing or evaluating what we're doing, it's the community that's going to be telling us, did we get it right? Did we have to make other changes? Is there something that we missed? So it's how do we capture that idea that like at throughout this whole process, it's the community that's directing.
I don't think you need to, I think if it's a value, that's inherent, because you're asking the community at there's a value that our community is driving our intentional and in outcomes, or, and we're using these values, to me, then you have to engage them at every single point. So I don't know if you have to acknowledge it as part of the value.
Yeah. Sure.
But I know what you're saying, but I think we've already made this a value for this group. We just haven't actually put it down on paper. Does that make sense, Susan? Because we do that each step. We always go back to what the community wanted. That's the reason we're doing the working groups, and that's why we're going to do these things. And so it always becomes out of that whole, to your point, driving the engagement with the community. Okay. Thoughts?
I may be totally missing the mark, but I was thinking for community driven, we're really after community driven solutions. I'm not sure what intentional outcomes says.
Okay. I sort of feel like
the stuff up in green, that we've said it, that
I
the
know.
community is enriched and made stronger through the full participation of all residents.
Right.
Do we need to say, we will make sure we have full participation of all residents? Or have we implied that sufficiently?
I think you can only lead the fish, like the horse to water, right? Like, I can't force the community to participate in this. I think we can be really intentional about how we try to go out there and engage with them. Like, we hosted those community focus groups. We're gonna host these working groups. We're gonna post the action plan before and allow them to comment and see what we're doing, right? And so before we submit it. I mean, but if they don't, I know that if we build the field, they will come, but, they may not read it. I can't force them all to join. Maybe we get creative and maybe we host a couple of public sessions to even further engage with this group. Maybe we have one at the senior center, depending on where we are. What?
Entice them.
Right, we can buy them donuts and coffee, and we can review the action plans with them. So I think we can make it more enticing than just throwing it out on the website and hoping people read it, but
Right.
I think that's up to us.
So I think we're talking about an iterative process. That is, iterative meaning at every step of the process, you stop and review and,
Engage.
and engage with your,
Yeah.
with your
Community.
customers.
Yes, with our clients who are,
Right.
is the community of Royal Oak at this point.
Right. So that is what makes it community driven in that, at every step of the way, or at crucial steps of the way, we loop back to our customers to say, how am I doing?
Right.
And to manage expectations. No, you can't have a free Uber 24/7, 365.
If they am, I'm signing up for the AARP tomorrow, if I can. Okay. So it's engaging with the community, and do we want to say ask milestones, or how do you want to say that? I do agree that it's an iterative process, but we are engaging with them all along the way, essentially.
We are, and but I think it's how do we articulate that as a value, right? We know that that's what we've been doing and what we're going to keep doing. So then but we're saying that it's because we really believe that's important, is what we want to try to capture here with the value, is that not just that this is what we're going to do, but because we feel that that will give us the strongest, most effective action plan for this community, or that it will reflect the community in the best possible way if we have, if it's been driven by those community members. So it's flipping it from what are we doing to how do we articulate that as a value. Is it more that rather than to come up with successful programs, to come up with a plan that reflects the needs of the community, or accurately reflects the needs of the community, or,
Well, I think that's a fine line. Then we may end up with a 24/7 Uber. I don't know if we'll get.
Or that addresses, because Grant, I think part of it is really hearing what they told us. It doesn't mean that every idea that they put forward is something that's going to find its way into this plan, right? But it's us hearing that transportation's an issue. And what are some possible solutions for that?
Absolutely. And there were folks that, were willing to look at those range of options, right?
think a lot of people acknowledged that the 24/7 Uber model maybe isn't quite feasible, but they were also asking for something beyond that. So how, I think there, you can kind of look at those reflection piece, and see where to grow things that we are doing or try different things and go from there. I think you're in the right track.
So do we want to take out successful? Is that what I'm hearing? Come up with programs that accurately reflect the needs of the community? We operate with integrity, we operate transparently with the highest level of professional and ethical behavior. Strategy, we engage in strategic thinking that allows for efficient planning, objective data-driven decisions, and nimbleness to meet the community needs. So I think that kind of addresses where you're headed.
Rather than accurately reflect, how about that address the needs of the community, or yeah.
And then we respect and equity. We do this without discrimination, equitable to everyone. We're going to collaborate with stakeholders, feedback, expertise, and resources, and we're going to do it creatively. We're going to foster positive changes in our community. I feel like these are some pretty good values. And I think this is how our intentions of how we've operated to this point. You guys agree?
All right, this is just a wordsmithing thing. I'm community driven. In order to be consistent with everything else, engaging should be engage, and the and needs to come out.
Can you say that for me one more time?
It's engaged.
You're under community driven. Replace engaging with engage. And then there's an and about 5 words down, and that needs to come out of there.
Engage with the community throughout the process to come up with programs that they address the needs of the community.
How about,
okay.
How about to develop or come up with just sounds? Develop, create, establish something.
And I'm thinking we want to engage with the community to make sure our programs address the needs of the community.
True.
Because the work groups are establishing programs. The feedback is confirming that.
Okay, I'm liking that.
Okay.
Or how about initiatives, or
is it programs? Because now, I mean, what if something's not a program?
Right, that's why I was thinking initiatives or something that
a little broader. Like it's just really just to ensure that the actions, right, or the action plans,
to ensure that what we plan addresses the needs of the community. And I'll throw something in here, apropos of the 24-hour Uber. I mean, not only do the things that we plan have to address community needs, but they have to do so at a reasonable cost. And I'm not advocating that we say that, but you know, they have to be.
I think that where I would put that is under the data-driven, the strategy piece, right?
Okay.
The strategic thinking allows for efficient planning, data-driven decisions, because I mean, at the end of the day, the data is going to support that is not a feasible, 24/7 Uber is not a data-driven feasible solution.
How about address the priorities of the community?
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Yep.
I shouldn't have brought up the whole Uber.
No, it's a good example. It's a good example no, because I think it is one of those, looks like, it isn't necessarily feasible, but there are things that will fall, that would fall into steps of, like, that would make a great solution that would probably both from a data-driven perspective, a budget perspective, and meet the needs of the community, which is one of those, we're gonna have to do, balance all three of those. Okay. What do you guys think about this? We have to vote on this.
So it's okay with me.
Paul?
All right, I said a wordsmith, I'm gonna do a Joan here and do a little more wordsmithing, because we've got community in there 3 times.
Are you up at the top or on one of the bottom parts?
The one
Yeah.
we're still working on, community-driven.
That'll bug me.
Engage with the
With residents,
President?
yes. To make sure, to ensure that action plans address their priorities.
Their priorities or the priorities of the community?
I think it's priorities of the community. No, we only have it in there once.
Okay.
Feeling. Paul, do you have any thoughts, comments?
I'm not exactly a wordsmith, nor do I find it a priority for me to have it concise as the rest of you, and that's fine.
Okay.
Fine to me. I think it gets our point across. You can, I mean, yeah, community, but I don't know. It gets the point across. It doesn't have to be perfection.
Okay. I just didn't want you to think we forgot about you, Paul, in your.
Nope, don't
All
feel
right.
forgetting about it.
Did we vote on the mission and,
Yeah, I think we did.
we voted on that, we voted on that.
All right, you guys ready to vote on our value statement thing here?
Yes,
You gotta make a motion.
perfect is the, oh, okay, I move, Sarah, I move that we accept the values as viewed on the screen.
Didn't wanna read
Second.
it all.
No, I don't want to read it all.
Paul, did you second?
Joan did.
Oh, Joan did. All right, let's vote. Paul, since you're off mute, go for it.
Yes.
Sue McKee,
yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Star,
Yes,
Sarah, yes, passed unanimously. Take it off the screen before we start wordsmithing again. Remove it from the screen, please, immediately.
I'll just say this, perfect is the enemy of good enough.
Where have I heard
All
that
right.
before?
All right, what templates did we have to review?
I think we were gonna review templates, did you bring any? Okay, skip it.
We'll table templates till next time, because I didn't bring any.
We talked about dates.
So everyone has an action item to look at their calendar. Right?
Yep.
Yep.
And then email me if there's any conflicts, you know, within the community. Anything. So then we're up to the data analysis
Yeah.
part. So this is just an update, there's no decision or anything to make, so I wanted to let you guys know. We have done some training with Peter and Rachel, our fellows, who are gonna be helping to conduct the data analysis part. So they are starting to work on theirs. I'm starting to wrap up my second particular topic, the demographic data. So there is a chunk of data, and I think we've all been kind of curious about the demographic pieces of it. I checked, and in theory, the census data is supposed to release soonish. So rather than, my original plan was to have a very nice put together report for you guys with all the demographic data and then each of the working group data. So everybody would get that and everybody would be able to review that information and then kind of dig into their own group as they see that they need to. But the census data, in theory, it might come out next month. or now this month, maybe. So I'm gonna hold off as long as I can in writing that part, just because then I can look at 2020 with our data and not try to write it twice or use old data. So just wanted to kind of let you guys know that that's where we are on the data piece. Hopefully next month, we should have all of the working group data summaries available for you guys.
I have just something I know. Thank you for sending those out, Susan, so we could review them. I think that they look great. The one thing that kind of popped into my head today, and it was something that we had talked about when we were before break, and that was to be really mindful of the bias with the survey data, because the vast majority of it is information that was submitted by people online. And for some of the topics, that's not going to be an issue, but for some, like communication, for example, it might be. And so there's one chunk of surveys that were done in person. So I don't know if we need to separate that out a little bit and do a little comparison between the online versus the in-person to see if there's any significant differences, particularly for those, like when I think about the communication piece, there could be some important differences between those two groups.
Yeah, so that is something I've been thinking about quite a bit, because you're right, that data is heavily skewed towards our seniors who are working and have regular internet access and utilize the internet regularly because they all, or most of them, online. So it is a good idea to kind of take a peek into that data that we know came from the surveys that were done in person. And after I think we kind of look at and see what those numbers actually turn out to be, I think it would be up to this group if you guys want to try to figure out a way to collect further data in groups that are non-internet accessible or not as technologically savvy, to try and provide paper copies and go that route to collect additional data. But yes, it is a very fair point that we do have to look at the data for those issues.
So I'm going to ask Erin. Erin, do you know who the shut-ins are?
We service with the Smart Bus contract quite a few that otherwise wouldn't have any access to a vehicle. Some of them still drive, but on occasion want to use the bus.
It's not so much just transportation
Okay.
as it is people who are isolated.
I don't think we have accurate data on that.
And we did try something with this. The original team members will know. I mean, we did it, didn't we do a robocall?
We did phone calls with them.
We did phone calls.
We offered to call them, or they call us.
They could call us.
Yeah.
Was there any data that was collected from those?
No.
Yeah. I thought we had a couple.
Nothing,
I haven't
Nothing
found
significant.
anything.
it was Meals on Wheels.
It was.
Okay.
That was it. We sent a flyer out with Meals on Wheels, figuring those people would be isolated. Hey, you want to participate? Just call this phone number and then somebody will call you back. And
I don't think we got anybody.
I don't think we did either. But that's, we tried.
We did.
And it might be, go ahead.
Susan, do you have the number of in-person? I just can't remember how many surveys we had done that we got done at the senior center when we did those in person.
Oh, yeah.
There were quite a few, I think.
So from what it looks like, from what I could see on SurveyMonkey, it sounded like you guys were all provided a link, or most of you were provided a link. And then the surveys that came in from the senior center had their own link to fill the survey out. And so I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. It was not that many in the grand scheme of the results of this survey. And I also don't know what it said, because one of the questions in the survey was about their access to internet and how regularly they use it. And so I don't know if it was like, oh, I'm here and there's paper copies sitting in front of me, so sure, I'll fill it out. But I also really could do it over the internet at home. I don't know the data behind that.
So, with COVID, I know that like Commissioner Macy was doing some senior outreach stuff, and I don't know if we could check with Aaron and John to see if there was any list developed there, Aaron, that might be an opportunity for us to reach some people. We've talked about senior outreach in our Parks, Rec, and Senior Services Advisory Board, and I know that we were very concerned about like the population that would be isolated. I mean, so I don't know where that landed, but I remember Aaron and John had some lists, and I don't know where they got it. So maybe Aaron, if you could follow up with them to see if there's anything there from an accuracy perspective.
You know what, let's ask the Area Agency on Aging.
And ask the AARP too. I mean, if, I know they have,
Yeah.
I mean, I can ask Karen.
Like, how do people find, how do service agencies find the people who aren't reaching out for help but need it?
Do we have a person to reach out to at the aging area?
I will figure that out.
Okay.
You know, another kind of resource might be some of our local food banks. A lot of times, if they're struggling with internet access, they may also be struggling with food and be utilizing those resources. So that might be a place to look in.
I know that we'd also tapped into the faith community as well. So that was something that we had tried as far as ensuring that local churches and such had the information, so that if there was some way to just to make sure that we were getting the information out to people, that we were trying to gather this this data. So, but yeah, the Meals on Wheels didn't really result in anything. And I think we'd even sent it out more than once, which seemed like a good way to tap into people who might not be able to get out and, you know, attend the focus groups or do those kinds of things, but we didn't really get a response.
Well, we can only do what we can do. And we've got good minds here suggesting ideas. We've got we got one new angle to try. Let's give that a try.
Yep. So we'll take a peek and see what we can find and go from there.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on the data from Susan or even Rachel, who's joined us tonight, who will be helping with the data? Okay.
All good on my end.
I bet, Rachel. Thank you for your help. Moving on, information technology solution.
So we had inquired about a solution for file sharing, and I think OneDrive is going to be our best bet for a solution.
Yep.
But I need to have a conversation with Paul because there's a budget request for it. So.
Is it just, I'm on multiple city committees where we need to collaborate. Animal shelter.
It's 100% needed, I think, and I'm a little surprised you made it this far through the pandemic without it, because that was sort of our way of doing business in my last city, and one of the things that made it super easy for us. So I think it's a needed thing, and I think it's just a matter of funds and timing and putting it together. So it's on my list of things to check in with our city manager about.
Yeah, I think everybody's just doing it with Google. They just said, screw it, we need to do this. We're not going to tie our hands. We're going to get the job done.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think my guess is there's, from a risk perspective, that city documents,
Yes, I would say the same thing. City documents, if they live in city places, you don't risk losing them. It makes it a little bit easier to handle some of the requests for information and things like that. I certainly wouldn't. But at the same time, I get it. So it's a both and hopefully we'll be able to get this solution going before the working group.
I mean, we should add to our list of COVID things to buy. But I don't know, we have money from COVID. You asked for a list of things to do. Why can't we use it for OneDrive for the city?
Relief funds,
I will put it on my
ARC funds.
I mean, I don't know,
If
but
ever there was a need, if we're gonna have, if there's a future pandemic and people need to do business and collaborate, hello?
well, I'm just throwing it out there. That's
Yeah.
my only suggestion.
It's an excellent one.
I agree. I'll talk to Paul and take it from that angle
I mean,
as well.
There's points in our world, like, we're looking at a world that there's always gonna be some type of hybrid and like not being able, like, at any given moment, we can be told that like we're under an emergency again and we need to continue to function at that point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's my suggestion for the relief fund, since I didn't respond to you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts or comments on the information technology solution? We obviously would ideally like it by October, but we'll figure out something before.
I would like to
Okay.
add that on the solution, I would like it to function somewhat like a database sharing type of thing, like, and of course, the name of the package just flew out of my head. Where documents get uploaded to that, people have access to only specific areas, like the area that they work on. If we're going to open it up to each of the little groups that are putting data in there, where you can have your working papers,
Right.
and
Yeah,
things like that.
OneDrive is like, OneDrive is like your file system on your desktop, Joan. It's just ability for other people to upload, collaborate, and it'll have version history and things like that.
Right, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And of course,
That's what we're hoping we can get. Is that what you're saying? You want it to do?
well, that's what I would like to have. And of course, the name of the package that I'm thinking of just blew right out of my head. I use it all the time. And of course, the name is, it's part of this aging thing.
Well, if you think of it, you can email Susan.
Talk about Dropbox?
You just upload things to it and you can, you build folders in it. It doesn't take a lot of, I mean, I'm practically out of space, so they're looking for me to add more to it. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can figure out how to swap screens here. And I don't know that I know how to do that. All right. We're getting there. Pooh. Rats. I'm having all kinds of trouble. I think it starts with a D, but that's probably wrong.
Joan, is it Dropbox?
Yeah, Dropbox, one of my favorites. But something that the city could put together that would operate like Dropbox.
Yep, it's very similar.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Items not on the agenda. I have one. Does anybody else have anything? I'll give everyone else a chance first. Paul, do you have anything? Joan? Paul?
I think he's frozen.
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Joan, do you have anything that's not on the agenda that you want to cover?
I do not.
Susan? Vicky?
I'm good.
The only thing I wanted to bring up is, one thing that we had talked a little bit about was holding our group some kind of presentation facilitation training, just so that we're all aligned on how we are going to kind of run these work groups, and just to understand, just everybody has different skill sets, and so just thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to spend a little bit of time talking through that at one of our meetings. So probably do that in September, late September, early October, before our kickoff.
Yeah.
Great
Maybe
idea.
there's
Sarah.
sounds fine.
like a free webinar from some trade association or professional association that we could just, little class, online class we could take?
Sure. If not, as a professional trainer, I probably could put something together.
Oh, wow. I thought you worked in marketing.
I work in PR, but I've done training for 30 years.
I see, okay.
So we'll figure out something. I want to make sure it works for everybody. I do think there's some specific things that we want to talk about that are probably more like, how do we lead work groups and stuff like that. So
Right.
if I find any resources that I can send out in the meantime, I'll let you know, but I'll be working with Susan. She gave me a sheet to kind of,
Oh, cool.
on how to do this from a community perspective.
I think I
too.
showed
So-
you that sheet.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of give that out as a.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there just so that everybody feels really comfortable. We're setting you guys up for success. I know that some people have more opportunity to do that than others, so that was it.
Thank you for the thought. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Moving on to public comment. Janice, what do you got?
Hold on a second, Janice, I gotta. Janice, you should be live and able to unmute yourself.
I did. Okay. Well, my face won't disappear, but, or you disappeared. Yeah, I'm a little confused as to why you're developing this list of seniors, how you reach out to them. Can you hear me?
Yes.
But given that you want one, the treasurer's office would be a great resource for seniors. She's got names and addresses by age, I'm sure. The clerk's office, I'm sorry, the treasurer's office has the water, people that get water bills if you want to do a direct mailing. There's a lot of ways you could merge that information together. And I was also going to suggest using the ARPA funds for that, because it's definitely needed. And as Sarah knows it from Parks and Rec and senior meeting, I've been advocating for developing a senior database for years now. Also, the work group information, what you've already developed, Susan, what you're working on, I'm hoping that that'll be public information before the actual work groups that you're establishing, that it'll be linked in the next meeting, hopefully, so others can see it and review it.
Are you referring to the data?
Yes, data from the groups that we've already met with, and the surveys and all that has been done.
Yeah, so we would probably be looking to make that public as the the working groups begin to meet, but I think at least next month we should have the summary information available.
Okay, and linked in the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, and then going forward,
I guess it's on the agenda.
going forward, once you get that, I would like to see some review that there might be something in there that we could work on, or that we could kick off to Parks and Rec and Senior, or up to the City Commission, that could be something implemented, suggested prior to the finalization of this plan. This is what Southfield did. They realized that, boy, there's a lot of people out there that have no idea what transit options are available. So they developed a brochure that they handed out and distributed to the seniors in their city, because they realized a lot of people just didn't know what was out there. So I'm wondering if we can look at what's in that data sheet and see if there isn't something that could be implemented prior to the final plan, because we're looking at 4.5 years since the task force was developed without really doing anything for seniors. We've just been doing a plan.
So
So that's my,
I think that's certainly in our hope is to look for opportunities that some of the low-hanging fruit as we kind of move forward and thinking about our current programming and what that feedback is. And I know we're definitely interested in, some other groups are interested in the data. Our folks who are working on the sustainability plan, we're really interested in hearing what seniors thought about transportation and what they're looking for as they think about transportation in a more sustainable way. And so certainly we'll be sharing our data with those groups as well to think about in their plan.
okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot something not on the agenda. Hold on. Also, I think when we were talking to Karen, the AARP is also willing to support us, and if we need help with like work groups or things like that, they can send out emails for us. They said it takes 3 weeks, right? Was that Susan? Mm-hmm. So if we want them to, that's available to us, and Karen will try to attend our kickoff meeting.
Yay!
Yeah, so she's on board and trying to support us. Good. I don't know who this other phone number is. It's probably us. Is that us?
Yeah, that's us.
Hello? Hello? Is there another person on the line? Okay. Can you guys hear us still?
Yeah.
Paul's shaking his head. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right. Public comment is closed. Thank you, Janice. Confirm the next meeting date and location. So your guys' next meeting date falls on like Labor Day, doesn't it? I'm guessing. Let me just pull up my calendar. Okay.
September 6th.
September 6th, which I believe is Labor Day, which means I won't be here and the building will be closed. Mm-hmm. So it seems like in the last time the holiday fell on a Monday, you guys just met on Tuesday?
Well, maybe the more important question is are we meeting in person?
There's that part of the issue too.
I mean, if we're meeting in person, it's probably easier to move it to Tuesday because then we don't have staff tied up with, technology and so forth.
Yep.
So, I mean, committees, the city commission has told staff that committees will make their own decisions. So, I mean, this would be a vote among us as to whether we want to meet in person or hybrid. I don't think any of us wants to go to full Zoom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to decide what we want to do. I think, Joan, you had said that you're willing to meet, but you're willing to meet in person typically, or was that Sue McKee? Or Sue Wells emailed us. And said,
This is Joan. I am free to meet in person. I think the caveat here is what are the COVID numbers as we get to that date? If those COVID numbers are up, I would prefer to meet in hybrid.
I think Sue McKee is the real question mark with Canada.
Right.
So,
yeah, it does create, I've got a couple of things that are creating some concern. I also have a 87-year-old parent who's a cancer patient currently. So, I'm just being extra mindful and cautious. So, but I mean, I guess part of me wonders, do we go with a hybrid just at this point, just because there still seem to be some question marks?
So here, I'm just going to throw this out here. Is anyone willing to show up here in the building, in City Hall? Because I don't want to sit in a conference room by myself this month.
I'll be here.
I'll be here. So if I have a couple people who are going to be here, great, we'll make it a hybrid. If not, I'm always willing to come hang out with you, Susan.
Yeah.
Okay. Pizza for you guys.
Oh, ho, ho, yeah, we get fed, so.
Only if you show up in person and these two
Let's
only who are
Paul,
volunteers.
it's easier for you because of the baby, right? Hybrid?
Yeah, easier for hybrid, but I mean, he's pretty easygoing, so.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try this, okay? I'm gonna make a motion
Okay.
that we meet in person next month. And we'll see what happens. The motion may fail without a second. That's fine.
I guess I don't see the reason to not have a hybrid option.
Right.
The
Like, what's the
audio
downfall
quality
of?
The technical difficulties, the audio quality of this meeting, the fact that, you know, I hear you speaking 2 seconds before your lips move.
If I cover my mouth, is that better?
Well, if you're gonna do that, you might as well come here and wear a mask.
All right. So
Well, some of your,
that died as a
I think some of the sound issues may be related to whether or not you have original sound turned on.
So,
Zoom
I think
has a
this
tendency to edit for you. And if you have original sound on, then Zoom will not edit and you might find the sound quality better.
Original
I have
sound.
no idea.
I think the phone call in worked better.
Yeah.
It's a lot less fussy.
Because otherwise we're screaming into the sound bar.
Yeah.
Which,
Room echoes too. The room has an echo,
no one's in it.
but still is manageable.
Okay, looking for another motion.
Somebody want to make a motion to meet hybrid?
Second,
I can't make motions, Joan.
you can't, all right, I move that our next meeting be hybrid.
I second the motion for a hybrid option.
All right, we're gonna vote on this one. Paul,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes,
Sue McKee,
Yes.
Sarah, yes, Shar,
No.
okay. Motion passes 4-1. I think it's the only time we've ever had a no, but that's fine. All right. We'll get there.
Does the date for the 7th work for everybody?
No, yeah, that's.
Yay, nay?
Good. I'm good.
9/7,
I'll make it
It's
work.
a Tuesday.
It is right after Arts Beats and East. Will they have it cleaned up by then? Will we be able to get through here?
Oh,
I'm assuming.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
The Arts Beats and Eats will be gone. You'll hardly know they were there.
Yeah, we'll be good.
9/7/21 at 7 p.m. hybrid. Shar and I in person with Susan and Aaron, the rest of you on Zoom.
Unless,
I don't know,
unless you
maybe
decide,
magic could happen, you know.
I know. I would love for the magic to happen because I miss you guys, your faces. So
for sure.
we will have an option to come visit and see your faces in person in City Hall if you feel comfortable, but if not, we will make it a hybrid.
Okay.
All right. What's next?
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
Move
adjourn.
Go Paul.
Second,
Shar seconds that. We'll vote in the room first. Shar,
yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Sue McKee,
Yes.
Sarah says yes. That passed unanimously. Woohoo! All right, you guys, have a great time. Have a great week, month.
All right,
I'll see you guys
thanks.
September
Bye-bye.
7th.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. So, planning commission one time, the,
You can hang up.